Hello everyone, my name is Tahukan. I'd first like to apologize if I sound deeper than usual. My throat it's messing with me, so I apologize for that. Dark Phoenix is the final X-Men movie we'll see for probably a good 5 or 6 years. And yes, New Mutants is still probably, maybe gonna come out, but one, it's not strictly an X-Men movie, and two, it's technically not a movie right now because they're only keeping like 2/3 of the original shot footage. I'm just gonna pretend that doesn't exist. So, Dark Phoenix is the finale of the soft reboot period piece set of X-Men films that started with X-Men First Class. First Class was great, I loved it. Days of Future Past was also great, I also loved it. Age of Apocalypse, however, I have literally never been able to get all the way through, and Dark Phoenix is just an ending. I have a lot of things to talk about with Dark Phoenix, so I'm going to do this in 2 chunks. 1, quick critiques. 2, the story. As for the quick ones, this movie has a viral disease. The name of that disease is Simon Kinberg, and its symptoms are laziness. If you've read or seen any other reviews, you've no doubt heard the phrase phoned in thrown around, and it's accurate. It's very accurate. So let's go through some of those things. The soundtrack. Practically everything but the CGI in this movie is so unimpressive or outright offensive. I love Hans Zimmer's work, but this is the worst thing I've ever heard by him. It feels oddly derivative of movie soundtracks from the 80s, but in the wrong way. It's loud and abrasive and makes a dramatic scene feel significantly less so, because you're wondering why this techno music started playing and why it won't stop playing the same 30-second bit again and again and again and again. The makeup is lazy. The only makeup that looks good in this movie is Beast, Nightcrawler, and Mystique in her blue form. It's kind of ironic that the only ones that look good are the ones that are meant to be inhuman, and the majority of the characters, the human characters, are just so fucking horrible. And what was, I have to imagine, a shoddy attempt to properly capture 90s makeup ended up being extremely jarring and straight up bad. I don't even know how this happened. And it wasn't even just the women. James McAvoy constantly had a 5 o'clock shadow, and it didn't look good. It looked unkempt. It was literally like they just had him sit down in a wheelchair randomly after waking him up without touching him up or anything whatsoever. It makes me almost wonder if they just had interns in for all of this, and they're just, you do have fun, and they missed all the normal shit they're supposed to do. Because even though Beast, Nightcrawler, and Mystique look good, Mystique, out of the 3, Mystique looks the worst, hands down. I've never seen Jennifer Lawrence look this unappealing in any role she's ever done before, and it's simply because they just completely messed up every single scene with her in the makeup. And this is a sequel too, need I remind you. How the fuck did it go from Age of Apocalypse with its own issues to looking this horrible? So the makeup was flawed, the soundtrack was jarring, the acting was so offbeat I was surprised this wasn't a movie full of outtakes. How do you make James McAvoy suck? How bad are you to make him suck? The fucking pacing even was so skewed, and the shots from the movie were just, they're lackluster. There's a couple scenes where the CGI looks neat, but that's part of the issues. Those are the strong points of the CGI. Quicksilver's scenes have been lauded in every single one of the new movies because they're great. Quicksilver has maybe 2 scenes in the movie, none of which are impressive. None of which use any of his ability to the full potential as it had in the prior movies. But despite all that, I'm not even upset. Dark Phoenix didn't even try to be more than all of this. It wears its shitty makeup proudly and doesn't care that this plot is more linear than sliding a can of soda across a countertop. I'm not happy, I'm not mad, I am just disappointed that after all this time, this is how it ends. Not with a bang, not with controversy, just the safest, most unimpressive ending to a franchise I've seen in a long time. I tried doing reading to determine what happened, and I will mention a slight spoiler here. It's not a major thing, it's introduced 30 minutes into the film. So if you really want to go in completely spoiler free, you're just going to want to skip 10 seconds. The gist of what happened was, and from what I could understand, pieced together, is somewhere along the lines of production, and there are conflicting reasons for why. You're going to want to skip now. Skrulls were the intended original villains for the movie. They later changed this to a nondescript alien race, and doing that, it didn't necessarily break the story. The story would have been bad to begin with, but not including what I said. I'm not going to say what I would have said again, because you should have skipped to here, and you won't hear it. But not including that made it so that these characters and these villains did not fit whatsoever. The main villain actually is a direct copy-paste of a character from the comics, but because of what happened with the Fox-Marvel merger, poof, gone. Just gone. So they had to do CGI, complete redo for a large chunk of the film, and they did remove, from my understanding, I believe, they may have either reshot or completely cut the final act from the movie. Now, That being said, there's still the fundamental flaws with the movie itself. An extra 30 minutes towards the end wouldn't have contributed anything when the movie itself, outside of scenes in the trailers, didn't have any meaningful character interaction that lasted for more than a minute. It was a waste of Jessica Chastain. It was a waste of... This whole movie was a waste of all the cast. It makes me almost wish they kind of didn't do this, but at the same point, like I said, I'm not upset because they didn't do anything to be upset by. They didn't do anything, period. And that kind of bleeds into the second part for all of this. In the infinite wisdom of Fox, they decided to hire the writer for X-Men The Last Stand, and this time told him he could do it the way he wanted. They also let him direct. At this very moment, the movie was completely fucked. There was no coming back. Letting that twat have control, bad idea. He even took full blame for this, without going into too much detail or too many spoilers. The complete story, no side plots. And I'm not saying I'm cutting out the side plots, I'm telling you, there are no side plots. There is no plot B. There is nothing but the main plot. It's just that Jean Grey absorbs the Phoenix Force, which breaks down the barriers in her mind, making her mad, and this anger is used, but not really, by a shadowy group who wants to control her for their own means. They're set up in the first act, making it look like this movie is going to go in a different direction and have a plot B or character development, but they abandon that very quickly into the second act. I'm not even exaggerating. After the second act's big little hooah, there's 3 more fights, roughly. There's some kind of dialogue, but again, none of it is relevant to the story at all, or even side plots. It's just dialogue to pad. And then it's over. There's a little catch up at the end, an epilogue, if you will, but it just ends. There's a bit more detail, obviously, in the movie as a whole, but it's hardly memorable. Walking out of the theater, it was the first time in a long time that I struggled to really remember what the story was, because there wasn't one really. It was just a bunch of things happening, and the conclusion wasn't even fulfilling. Same as this acts as a disappointing end to a franchise. The ending was disappointing to this movie. I've never been the biggest fan of the Fox movies, I'll admit that. I think they far often are worse than stuff like Marvel's more cookie-cutter movies, but when the Fox movies are good, they're generally far better. So I still see them, and more recently I haven't been disappointed. This whole thing did, though. I'd much prefer to be mad at a story than wishful there was a story to begin with. Simon Kinberg didn't even play it safe, he just played it. It's like just strumming a guitar without even trying to play a chord, and you're just hitting it hard, and it just, there's sound coming out, but there's no substance. If you're looking for a conclusion to the X-Men franchise, Dark Phoenix fulfills that. I highly doubt you'll leave smiling. The fights were energetic, and the set design was good, but everything else was lackluster and felt painfully phoned in. Out of all the ways for the X-Men movies to come to an end, this is the worst way. I give Dark Phoenix a 3. It did the worst thing a movie could do. It bored me. I'm aware that some of you probably think this is very low and that I'm just thinking too much about it and that I should just turn my brain off and enjoy it. I don't do these reviews to tell you all, it's bad, but if you turn your brain off and just enjoy it, you'll like it. That's a waste of money. Unless you're a huge X-Men fan, this is a colossal waste of money. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I've got 2 bigger videos to come out this summer. I know I haven't done a hot garbage in a while, so I've got 2 things. The second one may come out more towards fall, depending on, but I'm aiming to get it out in summer. I think you all like it a lot. And if you'd like to support me in the channel, you can check out my Patreon or my merch store. The links for both are in the description. If you'd like to see a full rating of all of my movies, you can click the link in the description to go to my Letterboxd. And if you'd like to see a lot more of me, I stream daily, or if not daily, as often as I possibly can on my Twitch. Link for that is also in the description. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the movie if you did see it, or if you aren't going to see it, or in general any thoughts you have on the X-Men and where they're going to go. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Huge thank you to Patreon supporters Anonymous and Math Porter. I truly appreciate it.